is Viktoriia. It's very nice to be here. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I would like to talk about one of the reports from Prestige Group. It's called Gender Distribution Beyond Course Measurements, Balancing Gender Distribution in Professor Positions at UIT. So in this report, it has been published in 2020, but I think it's relevant today because we are talking about course data, course measurements, and how to read them and what to make out of them. So UIT has relatively short history. It's 54 years old, but in 2020 it reached 39% of women in professor positions, which makes it one of the prominent institutions in gender balance and equality. However, 82% of professor positions in STEM fields are still held by men, while there's overrepresentation of women in so-called traditionally women fields, the fields that are associated with female activities. In the next 3 years, so up to 2023, by that time, 48 professors were up to retirement and 41 of them are men. And I would ask you to keep this in mind as we go through this presentation. So considering all of this, Prestige project come up with a solution that we need to look beyond the course measurements and think about and they proposed a scatter plot as a tool to look at the gender balance. So, to make this report, to look at this course measurements, the data had to be collected. And it had been collected for two main sources. It's the National Database for Statistics on Higher Education that has interesting measure. It's called Årsverk. It's basically the time measurement for the position. And the second source of the data for this report was the UIT administration. That is basically scientific position codes. So that's the statistics from the UIT. To harmonize this data, all the positions below 20% were removed. And you may wonder, how can we compare these two sources of data, considering that one is ours and another one is the numbers? There was no direct comparison between the data, but between the trends, and this is what is essential in this report. So when we look at the gender distribution in professorship positions, we see that 39% of women in professor positions were achieved in 2020. But if we look at the distribution between the faculties, we see the differences are not that promising, I would say. We see that at some faculties there's still a higher number of women taking professor positions, and the number is increasing, while on the contrary, in some, men are increasing. We see in the STEM fields like IVT and NT and UMAC that number of women are increasing over the past couple of years, but keeping in mind that each of these blocks represent a number of people, we come to interesting observations that this increase may be achieved in different ways. For example, both number of male and female professors are increasing simultaneously, or number of men is decreasing while number of women taking professor positions is still the same. That is what makes that point about 48 men going to retirement relevant. So in fact, there's no increase of women taking the professor positions. To understand this better, there was suggested to look at the PhD positions, because all the professors have been PhDs someday, and we see that 58% of PhDs at the university level were women. And this number is a trend that has been increasing since 2020. So what we see here is basically a leaky pipeline. The metaphor that is commonly used in the gender studies, because we see that with constantly increasing number of women taking PhD positions, number of professors is not changing much. To support it even further, it has been suggested to look at the center level or department level in the faculties. And here you can see the Faculty of Science and Technology contra the Faculty of Humanities. So we see the distribution by the center or department and the career path of people. What is interesting, what stands out here is that there are many female PhDs in the Faculty of Science and Technology that go through the leaky pipeline, they do not go to the professorship or associate professorship position. While on the contrary, Faculty of Humanities, Social Sciences and Education, you see that women stay and sometimes men just magically appear in the higher positions. To understand these numbers better, it has been suggested to use the scatter plot, because those numbers, they paint the picture, but they do not contribute much into the decision-making and the deeper analysis of the situation. So scatter plot is an interesting representation of the relative change that has been made over the couple of years. You can see it has color coding, red, orange, and green, where green area is assumed the perfect gender balance, 50 and 50. So the closer the department is to green, it means that they're close to come to the goal to reach the 50-50 gender balance. And the orange means that they have between 10 and 20% to go to, while red means that they are far away from the goal, and it means between 20 and 40% of numeral change to achieve the goal. So the sizes of the points of the scatter plot also significant because they mean the actual size of the centers or department. So in this way, we have a complete picture about the changes that has been made over the several couple of years. If we look, for example, at IBU, we understand right away that they went to the negative change, and women are overrepresented at the faculty because they're in the upper position of the scatter plot. I'm sorry, I have to mention that upper part of the scatter plot is the overrepresentation of women, while lower is overrepresentation of men. Yeah, and negative change, it means basically that some men probably left the faculty. Yeah. So to sum this up, there has been made some conclusions and recommendations, and mainly speaking about the problematic of the use in the course measurements in gender studies, because they limit understanding of the whole picture, and they simplify the reality. And we would like to speak more about the evenness of the distribution between men and women on the department's level. So it may be even more problematic and dangerous when the university reaches the 50-50 gender balance, because following this 50-50 distribution, one may oversee that there's no evenness on the faculty level, on the department and center levels. And it would not mean balance or equality on the level of the institution. So some conclusions and recommendations is that administrators should use more comparative data than course measurements, that all these measurements should be field and discipline specific, meaning that we should go deeper into deeper to the issue, not look at the whole university level. That action plan for equality, diversity, and inclusion, they should contain more concrete goals, and they should be generated by these in-depth relative changes. Heads of the departments should be acquainted with the content of this report, because it would be nice interest for them to reflect on. Also, the gender-aware administration should be enhanced and inspired. Yeah, leadership, gender balance should be acknowledged and encouraged by leadership. Heads of the department should be requested to report to the faculty all these evaluations of strategies implemented to develop gender-aware practices. Yeah. Also that administrators, academics, and students should have clear understanding between the conceptual differences between gender equality and gender balance. And of course, we talk about the necessity of future research and future development of the scatterplot tools, and I think we see it in the balanceator further on. Yeah, and of course, future research, more looking at the data. So thank you for your attention.